Have you ever felt a deep, unsettling intuition that a relationship, one that you're told you should cherish, perhaps even with a family member, is slowly draining the life out of you? Have you ever found yourself making endless excuses for someone's behavior, sacrificing your own peace of mind, all for the sake of a bond you're told you can't break? The truth is, not all relationships, even those with the deepest roots, are meant to last or to be a source of life. In fact, some can become psychological traps, prisons built from a complex mix of duty, guilt, and emotional manipulation. Today, we're going to dive into the profound and often uncomfortable insights of Carl Jung to uncover 8 crucial signs that a relationship, even with family, may be so toxic and destructive that it's time to let it go for the sake of your own mental and emotional survival. This isn't about giving up on people. It's about not giving up on yourself. Jung believed that the journey of life is the journey of individuation, the process of becoming a whole, integrated, and autonomous self. Any relationship, regardless of its origin, that consistently and fundamentally obstructs this process is not serving your highest good. Here are 8 signs, seen through a Jungian lens, that a relationship has become a source of psychic poison and may need to be ended. The first sign is the constant projection of the shadow. We've discussed the shadow, the unconscious parts of ourselves we deny and repress. In a toxic relationship, the other person constantly projects their own shadow onto you. They will blame you for their own failures, see their own flaws in you, and make you the scapegoat for their unhappiness. This dynamic is a psychological poison. You are being forced to carry the burden of their inner darkness, and it prevents you from seeing your own light. A healthy relationship allows you to explore your own shadow. A toxic one forces you to become the receptacle for theirs. If you constantly feel unfairly blamed, criticized, and responsible for someone else's misery, you are likely in this trap. The second sign is the refusal to acknowledge your individuation. As we know, individuation is the journey of becoming a whole, authentic self. In a toxic relationship, the other person sees your growth as a threat. They may criticize your new interests, mock your changing beliefs, or actively discourage you from pursuing your passions. This is because they have an unconscious vested interest in you remaining exactly as you are, a role they have assigned to you. They are afraid that your growth will disrupt their own static world and force them to confront their own stagnation. If you feel like you have to shrink yourself, hide your ambitions, or downplay your successes to keep the peace, that is a profound sign that the relationship is fundamentally at odds with your life's purpose. The third sign is the exploitation of your anima or animus. We've explored the anima/animus as the inner feminine/masculine. In a healthy relationship, this is honored. In a toxic one, it is exploited. For example, a toxic partner might use a man's anima like his sensitivity, his capacity for empathy against him, calling him weak or too emotional. Or they might manipulate a woman by preying on her animus's desire for strength and stability, making her feel dependent and powerless. This dynamic creates an inner conflict, as your partner is weaponizing the very parts of yourself you need to integrate. If you feel like your emotional responses are constantly invalidated, or that you are made to feel ashamed of your inherent nature, this is a clear sign of a deeply unhealthy dynamic. Now, the fourth sign is the denial of your personal myth. Jung believed that each of us has a personal myth, a unique story that gives our life meaning and direction. This isn't a literal myth, but the internal narrative that guides our choices and defines our purpose. A toxic relationship will actively deny or sabotage your personal myth. The other person will belittle your dreams, discourage your core values, and try to force you into their own narrative. They will insist that your purpose is to serve their needs, their agenda, or their family's expectations, regardless of your own inner calling. If you feel like you're losing your sense of purpose, your why, and your life is becoming an empty play in someone else's drama, you are being robbed of your personal myth. The fifth sign is the persistent feeling of being drained and disintegrated. In a healthy relationship, you feel energized and more whole. The connection is a source of strength. In a toxic one, the opposite is true. You feel mentally, emotionally, and even physically exhausted after every interaction. This is because the relationship is forcing you to suppress parts of yourself, to constantly be on guard, and to expend a tremendous amount of psychic energy defending your own reality against their projections and manipulations. A healthy relationship supports your psychic integration. A toxic one leads to psychic disintegration, where you feel fragmented, confused, and disconnected from your own thoughts and feelings. This feeling of being drained is not a sign of your weakness. It's a profound sign of the relationship's toxicity. So the sixth sign is the inability to achieve synchronicity. We talked about synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that happen in a loving, aligned relationship. In a toxic one, you will experience the opposite. There is a fundamental lack of harmony and flow. You may feel like you and the other person are always on different wavelengths, that communication is impossible, and that every conversation feels like a struggle. This isn't just about a personality clash. It's a sign that there is a deep, energetic misalignment. The unconscious connection is not there. Instead, there is a constant psychic dissonance that makes genuine understanding and empathy impossible. So the seventh sign is the weaponization of archetypes. Jung identified universal archetypes like the mother, father, hero, or victim. In a toxic relationship, these archetypes are used to manipulate and control. For example, a toxic parent might use the good parent archetype to guilt-trip you into submission, saying, "After all I've done for you." A toxic partner might use the victim archetype to make you feel perpetually responsible for their suffering, ensuring you never leave. They are not genuinely fulfilling the healthy role of the archetype. They are using its psychological power to keep you in their orbit. Recognizing this is crucial. It's not about rejecting the archetype. It's about rejecting its toxic, manipulative application. And finally, the eighth and perhaps most critical sign. The relationship requires you to betray yourself. Jung saw the self as the central, unifying archetype of the psyche, the core of who you are. A toxic relationship, at its most dangerous, forces you to compromise your core values, ignore your intuition, and abandon the path that your authentic self is calling you to take. It demands that you sacrifice your own integrity to maintain the bond. This is a profound betrayal, not just of yourself, but of the very purpose of your existence. When a relationship demands this from you, the cost is simply too high. You are not a bad person for wanting to leave. You are a person who is choosing to honor your own soul, your own life, and the sacred journey of becoming who you were meant to be. Recognizing these signs is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of profound self-love and courage. It's about understanding that you are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Ending a relationship, especially one with family, is an incredibly difficult choice. But sometimes, it is the only choice that allows for your own individuation, your own wholeness, and your own healing. It is the final, courageous step in a lifelong journey of coming home to yourself.